Now let's go to the next movement, Young Bengal movement. Students, the most important thing about Young Bengal movement is who started it and where was it. If it's in Bengal, definitely it's going to be in Calcutta. A lot of movements happened in Calcutta in the 19th century. We've already learnt about the Brahmo Samaj. So who started this movement? It was started by Henry Louis Vivian Desrosiers. I know the name may be a little tough, so you can practice 2 to 3 times. You can practice it saying with me also. Henry Louis Vivian Desrosiers. Even if you find the spelling difficult, you can write it down, break it by syllables and learn it. Henry Louis Vivian Desrosiers. His father was a Portuguese and his mother was an Indian. So he is an Anglo-Indian because one of his parents was an Indian and one parent was a European. So what did Henry Louis Vivian Desrosiers do? How did he get involved with the social reform of India? Let us see. He was very influenced by a lot of values of Europe like democracy, equality. He wanted Indians to have the spirit of inquiry, to ask, why are we following this? Why are we doing that? And not just have blind faith. So he wanted them to have the spirit of inquiry. He worked towards creating textbooks to include new education system. But this angered a lot of others because everyone else was still following the traditional system of education. But he still went ahead and he started an association called the Academic Association to spread these textbooks. He also started a free thinking debate where everyone could come and could debate, could argue, could raise their points that they believe or they don't believe, for, against. They could come together and debate on what issues? On issues like nature, humanism and God. He also worked towards spreading the message that only rational thinking would liberate people from the clutches of superstitions and social discrimination. So what is rationality, students? It's very simple. For example, if we do discrimination, oh, you're a Brahmin, you're a Shudra, but if you cut and see, blood is same in both of them. So on what grounds are we doing discrimination? So when you start asking yourself these critical questions, then you start thinking logically, you start thinking scientifically. So this is called rationality, where you're not having any blind, superstitious beliefs that has no proper reasoning. He was an advocate of women's rights and opposed caste-based discrimination. Many of his students who had come from traditional families were deeply influenced by him, and they joined hands in spreading the movement across Bengal. The influence of this movement was limited only to Calcutta. It didn't go much far. Desrosiers was also a teacher, but he had to resign from his post because he had a lot of opposition. He also died at a very young age of 22, and a lot of people feared that he is challenging a lot of beliefs, so they opposed him. So students, we learned about two movements, Brahmo Samaj and the Young Bengal movement. Brahmo Samaj is very, very important from exam point of view. Please pay more attention to it. Now let's come to the western part of India. The first movement we have there is the Arya Samaj. Very basic questions. When was it started? Where was it started? Who started it? Why was it started? Let us look at this. When was it started? In 1875. Who started this? Dayanand Saraswati. Where was it started? It was started in Kathiawar. It became very popular towards the last 2 decades of the 19th century. Who was Dayanand Saraswati? We shall see. He was born in 1824 in Kathiawar of Gujarat. His name was Mool Shankar. His father was Amba Shankar Tiwari and mother Amrita Bai. Since Arya Samaj is very important and Dayanand Saraswati as a reformer is very important, you all should learn these details about him. He was not interested in English education, he was more interested in the Sanskrit education, so he completed his entire Sanskrit education by the time he was 21-year-old. He wrote a book where he gave all his thoughts and ideas. The book was called Satyartha Prakasha. Is this important? Yes. Any book, any journal, any paper written by any of the social reformers is very, very important. What was written in this book? He realized that the remedies to the various maladies of Indians are present in the Vedas. So there are so many social evils, and Dayanand Saraswati believed that all of these can be resolved by following the Vedas. So he declared, let's go back to the Vedas. He is considered more of a Renaissance person than a Reformation person. Don't get confused, I will explain. What is the meaning of Renaissance? So, Renaissance means rebirth or revival. They are Vedas, they are the Upanishads, but they were there in ancient India. Now people have forgotten what they were. What were the values taught by these Vedas? So, Dayanand Saraswati believed in reviving, reminding people of these ancient Vedas and helping them to follow it. Reformation means you bring in change, you bring in new things, like how Raja Ram Mohan Roy started a new Samaj altogether, Brahmo Samaj. But Dayanand Saraswati didn't believe in making new things. He believed in reviving the old things with the correct values and the correct spirit that can be applied to the today's modern times. So he gave a movement called Go Back to the Vedas. He opened the head office of Arya Samaj in Lahore. In which year? In 1877. This particular year is not very important, but the location Lahore is very important. He declared that only Vedas are authentic. Authentic means real, that you can follow it. What are the aims of Arya Samaj? Just like how we learned the aim of Brahmo Samaj, which is a very important 2-mark question from examination point of view, you all must learn the aims of Arya Samaj as well. Of course, since Dayanand Saraswati ji believed in reviving Hinduism, a lot of the aims are related to reviving Hinduism. He said, all Hindus should believe in one formless God. They don't believe God has a form or an image or a sculpture and so on. They believe in one formless God. No one is a Shudra or a Brahmin by birth, and caste-based system was rejected. They didn't believe in the caste system. They gave encouragement to inter-caste marriage, because after inter-caste marriage there would be no such caste system. They rejected polygamy. They rejected child marriage. They also said men and women are equal. They also said one should study Vedas and other ancient sacred texts, and they should also preach or spread these Vedas. They also started a movement called the Shuddhi movement. Shuddhi means purity. What is this Shuddhi or purity movement? It was one of the most important movements of the Arya Samaj. Now let us understand what this is. It aimed at reconversion of people who had converted to Islam and Christianity from Hinduism back to Hinduism. Like, let's say you're a person, you converted to Christianity, or maybe you became a Muslim and now you want to become a Hindu again. So there was a movement that you could go through to become a Hindu again, from a Muslim to a Christian. Okay, this movement was called Shuddhi movement. Cow protection associations were started to protect cows, because as Hindus they consider cows to be sacred animal, and a cow is also very important when it comes to dairy culture. Arya Samaj had around 5 lakh members by 1921. After the death of Dayanand Saraswati, they also started colleges called the DAV, Dayananda Anglo-Vedic College. Anglo because they used to teach English as well. Vedic, they used to teach Sanskrit and Vedas as well. So DAV colleges, they are very popular in India even now. It's almost 100 years if you notice. It's 2021 now. They also started Gurukula Vidyalaya in Haridwar. Lala Lajpat Rai, he is a freedom fighter. We will learn in detail about Lala Lajpat Rai in the upcoming chapters. He was influenced by the principles of the Arya Samaj. Students, so let us discuss a little bit in detail about the Shuddhi movement. So if you all know, in Hinduism, caste system was practiced. So these Shudras, the people from the lower communities like Dalits, they used to believe or feel that if they convert to Christianity, Christianity has no such caste system, or if they become Muslims, there's no caste system again. So they used to feel that if they convert themselves, then they can save themselves from the evils of the caste system. So they used to convert their religion itself. But over the course of time, they would want to become a Hindu again. So while there was a process to convert from Hinduism to Christianity or Hinduism to Muslim, so for these already converted people, there was no way to come back to Hinduism. So Dayanand Saraswati started the Shuddhi movement where they could convert themselves back to Hinduism and still have the same amount of respect and purity. That movement was called the Shuddhi movement. So this brings us to the end of Arya Samaj. Now we will learn about Prarthana Samaj. So it was influenced by Brahmo Samaj. Students, if you all remember, where was the Brahmo Samaj started? In Bengal. By whom? By Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So the influence of Brahmo Samaj reached regions beyond Bengal. This Samaj took up various reformation movements influenced by the Brahmo Samaj. So the Prarthana Samaj was influenced by Brahmo Samaj. It became very influential in the Western India, particularly where in Western India? In the Presidency of Bombay. Who founded it? It was founded by Dr. Atmaram Panduranga. In which year? In the year 1867. What is the location? Bombay. With whom? With what aim? With the main aim of getting women their rights and the lower caste people their rights. He propagated that we need to relook at Hinduism with the Western ideas. Prarthana Samaj believed that reformation should not just be a wish where you just think it in your head and say, oh, I wish this happens. It should be carried out in actions. One should make it a reality. How, you ask? So they started a lot of programs for women education, for rehabilitation of the poor. What is the meaning of rehabilitation? Let's say they are poor people and they have no source of income, no work. So creating opportunities for them to start again in their life and to empower themselves. So they took up a lot of these programs. Justice Mahadeva Govinda Ranade, R.G. Bhandarkar and N.G. Chandravarkar were the other very important leaders. These leaders were also very prominent in the freedom fight of India. We will learn about their contribution in the future chapters. The scope of Prarthana Samaj. So when Prarthana Samaj was begun by Dr. Atmaram Panduranga, the scope, the activity spread because of Justice Mahadeva Govinda Ranade. What did he do? He attempted to reject child marriages and discrimination of widows. Like how Raja Ramohan Rai worked to prohibit sati and brought a law in place, Justice Ranade was working to bring in law to stop child marriage and to encourage widow remarriage. So he wanted to take the help of the British government for the same. So this brings us to the end of Prarthana Samaj. Now let's look at the Satya Shodak Samaj. They were widespread discrimination based on caste and gender in Maharashtra, just like they were in other parts of India. So during the colonial British, many movements were started, just like how Prarthana Samaj started. So Satya Shodak Samaj was established when? In 1873. What was their main aim? To provide equal rights to the non-Brahmin class and women. So other than Brahmins, there were Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, Shudras and the Dalits. So they wanted them to have an equal right with the Brahmins. And they also wanted to work hard for equality of women. This Samaj was founded by Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. In order to build a philosophical base for the movement, he wrote books. Students, I've told you, journal, papers, books, all of these are very important. So what are the books he wrote? Gulamgiri and Shetkaryacha Asud, Cultivators Whipped Cord. He opened schools for Shudras and girls. Who else opened schools? Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he started the Vedanta College, and after Dayanand Saraswati passed away, they began Dayanand Anglo-Vedic schools. Phule belonged to a Mali caste, Mali gardener, okay? Allowed people from all castes including untouchables to draw water from his well. So students, in the 19th century there was this practice, I have told you all in the previous classes as well. If there is a well where the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas take water from, a Shudra cannot take water from the same well. If a Shudra comes and takes water from the same well, they here refers to the Brahmins and Kshatriyas and the others, they don't drink water anymore from it as they consider it to be impure. But what did Jyotiba Phule do? He allowed everyone to come take water from his well because he didn't believe in the caste system. His wife Savitribai Phule joined hands with him and they established a hostel for girls. The work of Phule is important in the direction of establishing society based on equality. And the biggest example of this is how he allowed everyone to use the well. Ambedkar is one of the important people who was inspired by the work of the Phule couple, both Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule. Next students, let's learn about the reform in the Muslims. The Aligarh Reform Movement. There was a new wave of reformation even in the Muslim society. Anti-British sentiment was very strong. They were very much against the British, especially after the 1857, the first war of Indian independence, which is your next chapter. So they stayed away from the English education, so they missed a lot of opportunities that were based on English education. But there was one particular person, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. He wanted to start a whole new movement. He started a society called the Mohammedan Liberty Society. In which year? In the year 1863. Just like how, if you remember, in the Young Bengal movement, Henry Vivian Desrosiers organized for debates. Even he organized debates on very similar topics like religion, social issues, political issues. A lot of upper class and middle class people participated in these debates and they started discussions and they realized the value of English education. He lived from the year 1817 to 1898. He declared that Quran is the authoritative book and other works on Islam are derived. So he said the main book of Muslims is Quran. He also said one has to interpret the religion according to the changing time. Otherwise religion becomes sluggish. He fought against traditions, superstitions, ignorance and irrationalities throughout his life. So he said even amongst the religious books that we read, we must also understand it with the changing times. We must try and apply it to our life in which we are living as of today. He wanted to remove a lot of superstitious beliefs. He said, if you don't have an open mind, then any development, social, intellectual, is impossible. He didn't support the Parda system for women. He said that we must educate the Muslim girls. He did not accept polygamy. So he wanted the Parda system to go away. He called for educating Muslim girls, and he also wanted to abolish polygamy. All these led him to a lot of struggles. In order to implement his ideas, he founded Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in Aligarh in 1875. Very important. It is also called the Aligarh University now. He utilized this institution, this college, to spread the Western scientific and cultural ideas. It is now called the Aligarh Muslim University. Syed Ahmad Khan preached religious tolerance. He believed that you may be a Hindu, you may be a Muslim, but we all can live peacefully with each other. He thrived for unity. Hindus, Parsis, Christians donated liberally for the establishment of Aligarh College. Admissions were open for students from all religions. The movement created by Syed Ahmad Khan, keeping Aligarh as the center, is called as the Aligarh movement. So whatever movement he started, so he began with debates, then he established a college. So this became the center to spread his liberal scientific ideas. That's why it's called the Aligarh movement.